Good evening and welcome to tonight's webinar where we look at the investor signals charts and Algo engine and explain sort of the daily processes and how to navigate your way around. Any individual reading or listening should discuss with their financial planner or advisor the merits of any recommendation offer presented in this material for their own specific circumstances and realise that not all investments are appropriate for every individual. Presenter tonight, myself, Leon Hine, Managing Director of Investor Signals. I have 22 years of experience in the financial services industry and a licensed securities and derivatives advisor. The topics for tonight, so we look through setting up your trial initially, and then we run through the logging in for the first time, creating a routine using the charts and watch list, and we look at the best process of reviewing the recent signals, navigating the blog, understanding the new model portfolio feature, using the watch list, using the charts, and ultimately how to best use these tools to make good decisions in the market. And we conclude with a review of the special offer that we're providing viewers of these webinars with a discount on the 12 subscription Go engine, but we'll come back and review that at the end of the session here. So moving straight into a chart of the XJO, just to backtrack then, so just to take a quick look at where we're at with the creating your trial. So again, going to investorsignals.com, and I'll just bring that up. Clicking on free trial up here. Clicking on the free trial, registering your details. Again, I'm assuming that everyone can now see the screen fine. So registering your details through here, clicking on register, and that'll take you through to the login of the chart. So back to here. So looking at the routine that I suggest that everyone on a daily basis is, I think the process is you come in here. I have an interest in having a look at what the Dow Jones did overnight. So I look at so going to the watch list, select watch list, come across to here, select Dow Jones 30, click on the percentage to see where the greatest percentage moves had been in the night. So Merck, Disney, we can see those stocks were down. We see sort of Microsoft, Visa, Johnson, those stocks were up. And I find that interesting just to have a look at sort of what area or what sector of the market was moving overnight in the US. If I want to have a closer look at that, I'll click on the charts and then start toggling through those US stocks. So there's a graph of Apple, American Express, Boeing. And I think I find it valuable just to sort of refresh your memory, maybe, whether you're doing these routines on a daily basis or even once a week, depending on sort of how actively involved you are in the markets. But toggling through the charts, I think, is a really important aspect of sort of having some visual recognition of sort of the patterns that are occurring in the markets, and then tying that in with either the commentary that you read in the newspaper or TV or the material we post on the blog, etc. So continuing to toggle through those 30 companies, and the purpose of tonight is not so much to analyze the market, it's more about navigating around the technology, and we'll provide a separate webinar where we look at specifically sort of analysing the buying and selling opportunities within the US market, and then we do our usual monthly ASX 50 video where we cover the trends within the top 50 stocks. But again, tonight's more about sort of just navigating your way around the technology. So as part of the routine, coming in here and toggling through the Dow stocks, you may then also sort of go to the watch list. If you want to have a look at a broader section of the US market, you might go to the S&P, so the US S&P 100, the same thing, just take a little bit of interest in which stocks are performing there. And then likewise, you may choose to have a look at the NASDAQ 100. Again, just see what stocks are moving at sort of both the top and bottom end of that sort of top 100 range. And then, the most important part of that is to then come in and have a look at the ASX 20 or the ASX 50. So most of my analysis is on the ASX 50. So I'd click on that, go back to the chart and start toggling through. So when we look at what the algorithm engine is actually doing, up on the top menu here, the green pen turns these yellow markers on or off, and those yellow markers mean that there was a blog post on that particular day where AGL was tagged in the post. So you leave those on, or if you find they clutter your chart a little too much, you just click on that pen and it'll go from green back to grey or black, and those yellow markers are removed, and what you're left with is the pure algorithm signals, which the green is obviously the buy signal and the red is the sell. So the testing that we've done on the back testing that we've done on these algorithm signals, we tested a whole different array of strategies around the signals, and ultimately the process that delivered the best returns was in some ways the most simplest approach to it, which was just simply buying when it provides the green signal. And what the green signal is trying to do is highlight the fact that the stock is in an uptrend and making a higher low, and the red's trying to suggest that the stocks may be rolling over. Now, sometimes, given that the market has a general bias to the upside, shorting the market off these sell signals is not necessarily an outcome that delivers a good result. Now, that's not to say that on occasions for short-term traders, they can use these as shorting signals, but from a broader perspective, looking at the bulk of our clients which run superannuation funds or medium to longer term investors, the best way to apply these signals is to simply buy when it says buy there, sell when it says sell, and then buy back in on the next buy signal again. And if we look at the statistics of that, and I spent a bit of time on that in Tuesday night's webinar, and the model portfolio captures the performance of that as a strategy. So if we come in here, and I'll revisit this model portfolio a little bit later, but just to give you an idea. So this section of the program here tracks the performance of the stocks that have current open buy signals in them. And if we look at, say, Aristocrat, for example, we can see there the buy signals that it's had. There's no sell signals. So it was originally added into the model portfolio back here. And if we have a look at the performance of that in the model, it's up 356% since it was added. Shows you the days held, the accumulated dividends, etc. So we'll just jump back to the charts and go to the first chart in the routine, which is AGL. So on a daily basis, come in here, select the top 50 watch list, start toggling through the graphs and just having a visual sort of references to which stocks have got the higher highs, higher lows, which ones have got algo buy signals, which ones don't. Further, the lines that I draw on the chart are fairly minimal, but if you want to overlay those on your charts along with any notation marker here, so green, if you click on that, it'll go green, which will overlay my marks, and if you click it again and it shifts back to grey, it'll turn those off. The bell here is the application of the signal, so you want that turned on at all times. So the way the chart menu works here, you've got sort of your period, your style, your studies, your drawing tools. Again, towards the back half of the presentation, I'll go into sort of some of these more detailed or technical sections of the charts. So we start moving through the charts and having a look at whether the stock's making higher highs or higher lows. Now, the top 50 video market report that we provide every month gives you the specific strategies that we're running on these stocks, and it also talks in detail about the derivative overlay, the levels that we're applying that derivative overlay, so the covered call strategy, and provide you a bit of background on the earnings of the top 50 stocks. So separate to this webinar series, you want to make sure that on a monthly basis you're watching that top 50 video market report review, as that's our strategy and analysis piece on the top 50. And again, that's not so much the purpose of tonight's webinar. So you continue moving through the stocks, again making reference to the algorithm signals, taking note of any sort of support or resistance lines that I've put on the chart. Generally these markers will relate to where the most recent algorithm signal was, whether it was a buy or a sell. And so on, and you'll toggle all the way through looking at all those 50 stocks, and then the idea of once you've finished doing that is to then really sort of come back in, have a look at the model portfolio and have a think about sort of whether you're holding the same stocks as we are in the model. Now, working through the menu here, so at 11 a.m. in the morning, you get an email which is a summary of the posts, the new posts that have gone on the blog for that day. And at 3:30 in the afternoon, you get another email which contains the signals that have been generated from the algorithm engine. So if we just go in and have a look at this news button, this is the homepage of the actual blog. So you can see here that those emails that you get at 3:30 are your signal emails, so that posts through here. And if you were to come into here and click on the first signal, what that's now instructing the software is to no longer work with the ASX 50 watch list. We're now working with the signals email. So if we start toggling through that list, we get an idea of the stocks that have had an algorithm buy or sell signal on that particular day. So as part of the routine, I think that's an important piece to do, just to keep familiar with the stocks that are being highlighted in the algorithm engine. So again, whether they be sells or buys. Then the other part here is on a daily basis, the commentary that we make. So we can see here there was a post referencing Qantas. The algorithm engine has created an alert on Qantas, and if we actually jump into the model portfolio, go to the top 50 and have a look, we can organise that alphabetically, and we can see there that Qantas has actually been in the model since July at an entry level of $5.24. It's up around 1.91% on the original purchase price. So if we were to have a look at a chart on that, so this will be the signal that the algorithm engine's picking up back here. So that was where it was added to the model portfolio. So within the blog, so another one that was commented on was Centre Group. So this was a property trust, and the commentary really related to the fact that this stock is in the model portfolio, but we think it's getting fairly close to full value. And for clients that are seeking additional income out of their portfolios, we recommend selling a covered call over Centre Group. Now, with that covered call strategy, we're going out on the other side of the February dividend and trying to boost the cash flow from sort of what would normally be a sort of a 5% dividend yield up to sort of 10 to 12% cash flow on an annualized basis. The early in the morning, so at the close of the US market, you get the signals for the NASDAQ and the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 100 list that it's scanned. So again, you can click on that, go into the chart, and you can see there that Starbucks, we did have a buy signal, and now it's given a sell signal. If we move on and have a look at the next one, Vertex Pharmaceuticals. So this will be an interesting one purely from a technical standpoint as to whether it comes down, fills this sort of price gap here and ultimately finds support. But I think sort of just having some interest in what's happening in those top blue chip stocks in the US is a worthwhile process. So jumping back to the blog again, so that sort of summarizes what goes on the blog on a daily basis. So your 3:30 in the afternoon signals on the ASX, 2 or 3 key ideas from the dealing desk that we comment on each morning, and then the US signals early in the morning as well. If you wanted to come in and have a look at commentary on a particular stock. So under this symbols section, stocks that are tagged, you can look at them alphabetically. And we can see here Treasury Wines as an example. A few days back, a post was made about Treasury, and the stock's one of the better performing stocks in our model. So again, if we jump back to the model, have a look at the ASX 50, see what's in here, go down alphabetically, we can see Treasury Wines, again, one of the better performing stocks in the model portfolio. And if we click on the chart, you can see there that we've had a range of buy signal, buy low, haven't yet had a sell signal in Treasury. And the comment on the blog was really just the continuation of this upward momentum building. So that's the way to access the blog. The other alternative is to, under this recent post heading here, you have the different subjects of the post that you can click and go in and read. So for example, AGL, we could click on that, takes you directly to that post there. All right, so that gives you a bit of an idea of a daily sort of routine, coming in each day, toggling through the watch lists of the US, maybe toggling through the watch list of the ASX 50 or ASX 20, whatever area of the market is that you're most interested in, taking note of. So the way the signals work. So if we go into the watch list and have a look at recent signals, so we come in here, we go down to recent signals. This is a table of the signals over the last 7 days. So you can organize this by of interest having a look at the buy signals. So, or if we wanted to put the sell signals at the top, but for the time being, we'll list the buy signals at the top. We come over here and we can see that .NAS means it's a NASDAQ stock. And as we move through the list, we'll focus on the ASX one. So we can see Westpac has had a buy signal within the last 7 days, as is Qantas, PGC. We can see there are a couple of US stocks, so Netflix. The Australian Banking ETF has had a buy signal. If we move through the list, the IZZ, which is the China large cap, has had a buy signal. We keep moving through. EML payments. So that's a way of just, if you've missed the signals for a few emails for a few days and you're just wanting to revisit the recent buys, or for that matter, we turn that around and put the sells at the top, and you can just move through here and take a look again at the ASX signals that have recently been covered. The other part of the watch list here, I think, that's of interest is coming in and having a look at the exchange traded funds. So clicking on that particular watch list, and again, organizing them by percentage gain or percentage loss. So you can see here today that the O oil ETF, BBOS, the gold ETF, so some of those underperformed today. And if you go across here, you can see the signal that we have on it. And if we click that again, so one of the better performing ETFs today was the Yank, which is the short Aussie dollar ETF. And if you wanted to continue sort of through that, the NASDAQ ETF's been a strong performer, the Morningstar Global Technology ETF. So I think process coming into your watch list and reviewing those exchange traded funds, we've created a short list in here of the ETFs that we tend to cover the most on the dealing desk. So it's, whereas if you look at the number, this covers every ETF listed on the ASX. So there's quite a number of them in there. Whereas if you work off this list here, which is our recent, our ETFs to watch, this is a more condensed list. And it might be a good sort of way, if you don't have much experience with ETFs, is just to start to introduce you to maybe a core set of ETFs that cover most investment areas of the market. And again, you would come in here, do the same thing, look at the percentage gains or the percentage losses for the day, and just start to familiarize yourself with some of the performance of these ETFs. Now, these are all covered in the Algo engine, so when there is a buy or a sell signal on any of these ETFs, they are included in that 330 afternoon email, and we'll soon be creating a model portfolio for the ETFs as well. So at the moment, if you go into model portfolio, you've just got the ASX 20 and the ASX 50. We'll soon be adding in the ETF one there as well. The other part of the watch list, so we've looked at the scanned list, is customizing your watch list. So if you wanted to add a stock to your watch list, select customize, come in here, type in the code, select it from the list, add it in. If you want to remove a code from your watch list, just click on the rubbish bin over there and to delete it. Now, the benefit of creating your own watch list here is that you could think about it in the context of these being stocks that you're interested in watching, or it could be that you actually type in your current portfolio. And the benefit of that is that you can then come in, select, let's say you own 20 stocks in your portfolio currently, add them all to your watch list, and then what you're able to then do is come in, select your watch list, then go to the charts and toggle through the stocks that are in your portfolio, and therefore being able to sort of reference whether we've got buy or sell signals on the stocks that are specifically in your portfolio at present. The idea is over time we would encourage you to think about aligning your portfolio more with our model, given that the success of the annual returns that have been achieved with that around 14.2%. So that really covers the watch list section there. There's probably not too much that we need to continue on there. We've, I think, covered sort of navigating the blog. I'll probably just spend a little bit of time now on just understanding the model portfolio, and then we'll spend some time on using the charts in a bit more detail. So the way the model portfolio works is when a stock in the top 50, for example, when it has an algorithm buy signal, for the first time, it's going to be added into the model, and obviously the buy date will record the date that it was added, and then it tracks the percentage change is held, and the total dividends is simply just the accumulated dividends over the course of the holding period, and then the franking credit represents the average franking credit over that period as well. What I find interesting with the model portfolio is to arrange it by days held. So the stock that's been added to the top 50 most recently has been Amcor. So if we're thinking about new additions to a portfolio, we'll often start with thinking about which stocks have recently had a higher low structure. And as we move through the list, so the type of names, Amcor, Transurban, Sydney, GPT, Woodside Petroleum, AGL, Lendlease, AMP, Medibank Private, IPL, Westpac. So the names that have recently been added, it's a good area to sort of start thinking about, well, do I hold those stocks in my portfolio currently? Obviously, a big part of what we do here is trying to enhance the returns of the portfolio through adding the covered calls, and we work with clients in one of two capacities, either as a subscriber to the technology where clients do the buying and selling themselves, or as a premium broking client where we do the buying and selling for you. So the assets all remain in your name, but we act as the broker and place the orders on your behalf. And part of that service is obviously the derivative overlay to enhance the portfolio returns. So the model portfolio, the other, again, if you're maybe just sort of wanting to follow a smaller group of companies, the ASX top 20 model, same concept, days held. So we can see here that Transurban, Woodside are probably the most recent additions to the top 20 model. CSL's probably been in there the longest. It's up 57%. So if we have a look at why CSL's in the portfolio, we can see here that it's had a series of higher highs and higher lows. So what the Algo is trying to do, and maybe if we look at sort of two extremes here, where CSL's in the model, and the reason why, higher highs, higher lows, bullish structure. So they're the ones we want to be aware of, and the idea is we stay in the stock until such time as it rolls over and makes a lower high. So if we look at a stock that's not in the top 20 model, like say QBE, for example, we can see here the stock's predominantly making lower lows and lower highs, and the sell signals picking up the rally within what is an overall structural downtrend. So if we look at the most recent signal here, again, it just confirmed that QBE is still under pressure, and it's really not until such time as the stock reverses, maybe starts breaking back up, creates a higher high, pulls back, creates a higher low, signal will then create a buy on QBE. So if we go into the model, because that's under sell conditions at the moment, you wouldn't expect to see that name in the model. And if we go through and look at this, out of 20 stocks, there's currently 11 names that are currently in buy conditions within the top 20. And as a comparison, if you look at the ASX 50, I think it's sort of roughly 30 stocks, 31 stocks out of the 50 that are currently in buy conditions out of the top 50 names at present. So when there's a change to the model portfolio, as a subscriber, you'll receive an email to say that either this particular stock's been added or removed from the model, and that's really just a reminder that action has taken place, and our model portfolio has been adjusted as a result of that. I think that sort of covers the model portfolio area. So just to conclude, now we'll just move on to the charts and spend a little bit of time navigating your way around the chart. So if we wanted to overlay a technical indicator, we'd go to the studies here, go down, pick an indicator, and let's just say the stochastics, for example. You'll apply the settings there and then hit create, and it lays the indicator at the bottom section of the chart. If we wanted to overlay, say, moving average, we could come in here, select that. We may change the color of it. You could change the period of it and overlay that. Now, the way the chart works, if I wanted to just simply shift the chart, I click and hold down my left mouse key and I can drag it around. If I want to zoom in or out, it's these buttons at the bottom here to do that. If I wanted to delete an indicator, say that moving average, we want to get rid of that, I'm just going to right click on that to remove it. If I wanted to draw trend lines on the chart, so a few different drawing options here. So the crosshair, you want to make sure that's turned on. So the crosshair just allows you to have a better reference point as to date and price. So again, if you think about sort of this list here is more to do with drawing, and this list over here is more to do with your studies or your technical indicators. So your trend line, the way that works, you pick your point that you want to start the line, and then you can release it sort of wherever you need to. My preference rather than that is to actually use this one here, which is the segment line. And with this one, you just simply pick your point there, and you can then shift it around where you need to. Again, you can select the end of the line to change the angle of it. You can extend the line as you need to. And I'm doing all that just by holding down the left mouse button. Again, if I'm not happy with it, I just right click and delete it. So within that, you've got your rectangles, your ellipses. So if you want to put a marker on the chart like that, you can do. If you've got your Fibonacci ratios, if you wanted to draw a channel on the chart, you can do that. If you wanted to, underwrite markers on there, you can do. You can shift that around. So there's different drawing indicators all come off that particular menu there. And to delete again, so just right click. If we're not happy, so just look tying in, say, the stochastic oscillator with the algorithm signals. So you may start to look at other technical overlays to say, okay, this provides a raw entry exit rule, and if I'm going to run sort of some tighter stop loss or money management, and this really becomes an interesting concept for shorter term traders, where you might say, okay, well, as long as the stochastic, as an example, is confirming a sell signal, then I'll stay on the short side of this particular trade. So in the session that we do next week on CFDs, and in particular using the Saxo Go platform, we'll start to look at these shorter term trading strategies around the algorithm signals for both long and short trading, trading, and focusing on a particular strategy that supports shorter term, opportunities in the market. So again, the purpose of tonight's really just to introduce you to the features and functionality of the technology, rather than any particular investment strategy. So changing the style of the chart. So let's say we wanted to remove the stochastic oscillator now, so we can delete that. You want to make sure you've got the volume on the screen there. So to find the volume, you're going to go into your studies and select it from there. The style of the chart, so at certain times you may not want the sort of open, high, low, close, or the color bar as displayed, so you might want to look at it from a mountain view standpoint. Again, you can sort of squeeze more data in using these zoom buttons here. And that really kind of summarizes, I think, sort of the main features and functionality of the chart. So up here on the top right hand corner, wherever your mouse is moving, you'll see the open, high, low, close, volume and date change up on that top right hand corner. The style or thickness of the trend lines that you're drawing on your chart. And so there we have it for the chart. So again, to recap or to conclude tonight's presentation, the main functionality that you want to be using on a daily basis, and we'll just sort of reset this back to the standard layout, is you want to be coming in each day, clicking on your watch list, having a look at the US market if that's something that interests you. If not, just go straight to the ASX market and you're going to look at either the top 20 or the top 50. You may have even typed in your portfolio under custom watch list, in which case you might want to come in here on a daily basis or weekly basis, click on custom list and just start toggling through the stocks in your portfolio. My process is to select ASX 50, put the percentage gains to the top, take note of that, then go to the charts, start toggling through them, making a reference as to which stocks have buy signals and sell signals, and moving through all 50 companies and doing that. The idea here is the model portfolio. You want to start having to think about matching your portfolio to the model. The way you would begin that process is having a look at the stocks that have most recently been added to the model. So again, model portfolio, days held, and have a think about whether these are additions that you want to include into your portfolio. As a subscriber, you're going to have the comfort of knowing that an email is going to be sent to you whenever a change in this model has occurred, and whether that be a new buy signal or a sell signal. As part of just keeping up to date with what's going on in the market, you get your blog posts sent to you in the morning, and you get your signal emails sent through in the afternoon. And you can either, when these come into your inbox directly from the email, you can click on the code, which will take you straight into the chart, and then you can toggle through those signal emails. And there's often only 2 or 3 to look at, but I think that's just sort of keeps you up to date with the buys and sells, and that's an important part of the daily process as well. And as we discussed, looking at the exchange traded funds, I think that's an important part of the market. It's a growing area, and you want to be then, if you're sort of looking at a broader set, this particular list, if you want to look at a narrower group of the ETFs, that particular there, ETFs to watch. And then also, as we covered, sort of the recent signals, if you want to keep an eye on what signals that we've had, and that's sorting through the buy side, sell side, over here as to the ASX signals that have just been added. So again, that captures the last 7 days of signals across both all the ETFs, the ASX market, and the US stocks that we cover as well.